You know how science and religion are always battling and there's God and there's no God. You see all that, right? If you see it this way, religion is only telling experiences of people who lived before and what they think they heard from God, right? And they documented that. If you think about it, it's just experiences, they document that. Science is using instrumentation and techniques to try to understand what already exists, which is nature, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you can imagine that if we are limited, we don't have all the instrumentation we need from a scientific standpoint, you may not understand everything. But it's an opportunity to use the science to understand what the people who claim to believe in God are saying, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's fun to do that. And I realize that because science and religion are battling all the time, a chunk of this opportunity has been left. I hear the religious people, when they're arguing based on religion and they stay right there and they can't connect with the science. Then the scientists also explain something based on pure science and they can't connect religion. So this is where the friction is coming in and people are butting heads. Now,
Gotcha.
when I look at that interface, I see entirely something different. One of them is what I was explaining to you last week about this aspect of God putting Adam into a garden to work and putting known instructions next to him and then saying, hey, don't eat of the fruit of this tree. And that's it. No other manual. So already tells you that the person is saying, figure it out yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, how are you going to figure it out yourself? Isn't it science? You see my point?
Oh, yeah. No,
It's science.
yeah, it is.
It's science, purely, which means God initiated science right there and say, figure it out yourself. And so to me, science is really excellent. The only thing is, we need to understand the limitations of science, which is we don't have enough instrumentation to understand it all. And we are trying. And me having been a scientist for years, I know how challenging it is to sometimes confirm certain things that I want to confirm, but the instrumentations are not really enough to do that. Yeah. I think I had mentioned that in general, the human body will not need medicine if you have existed in a state of joy and you are not getting sick, right?
Yeah.
Because primarily in a state of joy, what I explained before is if you have faith, faith takes you to a point where you hit the state of joy and your body even doesn't need anything, food, medicine. Yeah, and that's what I was mentioning because you're not focusing on it. And apparently there are people, if you go on the internet, there are the breatharians who claim they've not eaten for years. There is this young African lady who I think stopped eating at the age of 16. It's on the internet. Doctors have gone to examine this lady and she claimed to not have eaten since 16, has had 2 children and still counting and not eating. And there are a number of other claims of people not eating for even about 50 years. So when you put all the pieces together, apparently it's true that when we hit a certain point in our lives, we don't need food anymore. If you go online, you check some AI functions will tell you about the age of 25. When you have reached full maturity, you don't need food to grow anymore. So now it becomes maintenance. In principle, we don't need lots of food to maintain the body because the number of calories that you are losing in your body is not really that high for you to say, hey, we need that higher calorific intake every day in order to survive. So it makes sense that those who get to a point where they claim they don't need food to survive can be justified scientifically. So with that, I think we're talking about if you don't need food to survive, do you need medicines? And I think that is where you asked, how about the psychotic medicines? Do we even need them at all, right? That's the question.
Yeah, like depression, anxiety.
Depression, anxiety, and the rest. Okay. I'm going to make a general statement just to make sure that those who listen to the previous discussion will understand that in general, medicines are lifesavers. If we go back to the caveman discussion we we're having before, if a caveman was dying at the age of around 20 to 30, and the people who believe in God, Adam and the descendants were living around 900, and if the caveman now is able to live till 75. And the people of God now, we are all stuck at 75. It tells you that the caveman gained something that brought them to 75, right? And I believe those are the medicines, which is If you do not have faith, that can bring in your immune system to let you avoid diseases. Then you need medicine for you to survive. So in a situation where you ask the follow-up question, if Adam figured it out, why is it that he didn't live forever? And we said that, well, they still had fear. They couldn't figure out how to reverse the fear to go back to the electromagnetic state they were in the beginning. They couldn't figure it out. So they would die slowly, but it won't be instant, right?
Yeah.
The thing is, they've been dying. Even after Adam and Eve, who were into 900, and it kept going down, 700, and, it kept going down. Now, we talk about all those who claim to believe in God. Are we all not stuck around the age of 75? Yeah. So it means they gained something. Religion rather lost something. And we need to figure out why the religion lost that. But if you put it in that context, then medicines have been lifesaver because, as you mentioned before, it was diseases that were killing them at the time. They had no answers to it. And now science have figured out medicines that really work very well. Now, let's go back to the central fundamental mechanism. The reason a focus on any of these, medicine, food, anything that brings pleasure, actually leads you to death, whilst a focus on work lead you to life, right? And the fundamental mechanism, again, I just want to highlight that, is called the adaptation mechanism, where the human body is meant to adapt to any dose of anything it encounters so that it will survive. It was meant for survival, okay? You go to a hot environment and your body senses the hot, you're going to have a big shock and you need to adjust on a desert somewhere. Eventually, the next day, you'll be able to tolerate a little bit more. The next day, and as days come by, you tolerate the heat better, right? That is why humans live in the desert where it's the hottest. And when you go to the coldest, the same humans will thrive there. Why? Because it takes time for you to adapt to whatever you encounter. The same mechanism of adaptation is the same thing that causes addiction, which is, what do you get addicted to? Anything your brain focuses on. Okay, and I'm stressing again, anything your brain focuses on and you expose it to your body, the human body will get over it and would want more. Okay? If it is work, it will be the same thing. You will want more work. And you can continue and you see that you get addicted and addicted and addicted and you keep going. If you take anything that goes for the pleasure side that God warned us against, then you keep going and you can't have more. You just keep going. So now let's bring it to medicine. Medicines fall in that category of the pleasure because they relieve in a pain or relieving a sickness to the body. So your body will get addicted to it as well. In general, more of medicine isn't good as people think, okay? And I don't know if biology ever explained. Do you ever hear anywhere in biology anybody saying medicine, more is not better before?
Yeah, I think so.
More isn't better. Because we know it from the pharmaceutical side. Although more is better to a certain point, it gets to a point where you can't have any more and you need a balance instead. Okay, let's take antibiotics, for example. You put antibiotics into the human body. It kills the bacteria or the biotic factor you target against, right? Then you say, okay, let me keep giving more because I want to clear all the biotic factor. Now, when you do that, what you have told your body is that, oh, I have an external thing that takes care of it, so I don't even need to use my immunity to do a thing. The human immunity, the more antibiotics you use, the human body gets addicted and will not depend on the antibiotics and your own immune system shuts down. Imagine that a point comes in and now you need antibiotics and you don't have it. What is going to happen? Your immune system is not going to function. It's gone. Why? Because it is being trained to just go quiet. So that's one danger. We also know that in the laboratory, when I worked at the pharmaceutical company, the more medicine you put on the biotic factors, the more they select a variant to survive. They're also going through the same adaptation mechanism as I'm talking to you about. So if you give it more, it pushes them to a point where they need to survive. So they also make a mutation and survive. But if you didn't give them more and some died, you have reduced the biotic factors to a level that your body immunity can kick in. Do you understand this little dynamic here?
Yeah.
Good. So instead of saying, I'm giving you so much medicine and that's what everybody's mind is, kill it all and go. No, you leave some for your body's immunity to kick in, to train itself. And we have what we call the memory cells, the T memory cells and the rest. So they will remember. And next time when the antibiotics is not there and you get the same biotic factor coming in, you have a memory. They recognize that your immune system boosting. And over time, you can train your body in such a way that you will not even need the medicine. Your immune system take care of it. But in principle, the basic mechanism of mutation formation is actually how you abuse the drugs, the vaccines, and the rest. You can't have way more than the body needs, else the body will shut off its mechanism and then the drug takes over. Okay, now let's come to the psychotic medicines. They are primarily what we call the agonist and the antagonist. They are only interrogating 90% of the time is their dopamine receptors. And they are receptors that regulate your motivation, your reward system, the feel good, driving you for pleasure. Those are the receptors that we are playing with. Now, because they are receptors and we say agonist and antagonist, it means you are not stopping the function. You're only modulating the function into a balance, right? In principle, that's how it's supposed to be. So those are the medicines that you don't even need to say, I need more. You rather only have to dial in to a balance because they don't inhibit. They only modulate here, left or right. So imagine that now, instead of modulating, you say, okay, I need more because my body now is getting adapted to it because I gave it level 1, dose level 1, and it got adapted. Now, you say, I'm going to give more, but you've forgotten that you've shifted the receptors balance towards a new normal based on the adaptation mechanism. It is not your original normal anymore. So you come in and you say, okay, let me give more because the person is not responding. You go to the other level. You are shifting the person's normal based on the fact that you are hitting central mechanisms that the human body itself need. Unlike the antibiotics one that I told you, it's not what the human body needs, right? It's rather on a foreign material, which is on a bacteria or fungus or whoever. So it doesn't matter, okay? You just want to zap them and kill them, right? But this is your own body. It's your own receptor that normally is supposed to do something for you, and you are antagonizing it to reduce the something it does for you. Or 10% of the time we have agonist, where you are boosting their function so it gives you what you're looking for. So there's no way you can say, I'm going to keep giving that person more and more and more and more, and the body will tolerate and the person is going to be okay. You see? Now it becomes challenging because they can't come off it. I told you my wife is a psychiatrist.
Yeah.
So we've been discussing that a lot, and they have been tapering medicines from patients. Now, here is the thing. You remember the antibiotic one, I said that you leave some for your body's immunity to train on it and to pick it so that they can get better, right? In this case, if that is happening, the mechanism is not interfered, the person is not afraid, the immune system boosts faster, and they can get trained very nicely. Usually what kills people, as we said before, is fear. The COVID time, most of the people who died is out of fear. But if they are not afraid and they go out there and muzzle through the pain and they jump out there and do a few things, by the time you realize the immune system has boosted and has taken over. For the psychotic medicines, you push it to this level and your balance has shifted. The new norm is now craving for more. You see the problem?
Mm-hmm.
It's craving for more. So what will happen is when you go to the physician will give you more. But the fact is, we have a limit to where we call safety levels are. Every medicine, before we pass it out and bring it, we have safety levels where human body can't tolerate any more than that. And so we call it the highest dose, right? If you keep pushing, you will get to the highest dose. Where else do you go? You've hit the highest. Now you've pushed.
Yeah.
You push the person's normal to the highest. Where do you go?
You can't go higher.
Exactly. And that is where we are stuck now. Many patients get to that point and they get stuck. And the question is, what do we do? I think many people are asking that question. And myself and my wife, and together with a team that is building the assessment platform, we are going to come up with something we call the reverse addiction model, based on two extreme mechanisms, state of joy, which, if it is true, we have seen boost your immune system, and all these dopamine receptors, they are perfect when you are in a state of joy. The balance and everything, nice. You don't need any medicine when you are in a state of joy. So that is one extreme we look at. And to the extreme where you have pushed for the need for food, alcohol, pleasure, drugs, and medicines, and you have hit the marks. We are saying, how can we use the two polarities to bring the person back to a normal physiological state where they will need just minimal or no medicine at all? Do you see the point I'm trying to make?
Yes, I think you broke it down very well.
So now that reverse model that we say we're going to do, it's not an easy thing to do. But in every situation, you can taper down any medicine gradually. The human body, in their reverse adaptation, we will call it reverse adaptation, can respond to gradual withdrawal of certain things. Everything you can gradually withdraw them over a period of time. Okay, even food and the rest, you can gradually withdraw them. For example, food, I started dropping my 3 meals a day over a period of time. I dropped it to 2, and 2 became a norm, and my body was okay. Then I added weekends. I do complete 24-hour cycles, so become 1 meal a day, and my body eventually got used to it. Now, by the time I realize I'm doing like 1 meal a day, 3 to 4 times a week without even any pain. So you see, I'm already training my body to a point where it doesn't need food. It can be done, okay? The same thing applies to everything else, medicines and everything. If you feel you are addicted to it, you're at a point where you are not getting the benefit. The good news for the psychotic area is the human body can actually manage itself if you go to the extreme I told you about, which is extreme of joy. In fact, we have a podcast on the platform we call Joy or Happiness. And this is on our radio podcast platform, My Natural Talent. So on there, what we are saying is, if people know the difference between joy and happiness and they choose joy, then they get the extreme where their immune system works much better. But if you have joy and I start tapering your medicine off and I'm balancing you going to this side with the joy, okay? It's almost like I'm drawing you this way, okay? You are here where you are the maximum of the psychotic medicines, you can't come out. I position you in the middle somewhere and bring you joy and start pulling you with the polarity towards the joy area. Increase you to a point where now it brings you somewhere into the normal middle state where now your joy can fully be achieved. And now the question anybody will ask is, okay, so what the heck is this joy thing? How can I have it? Right? If it is that easy, anyway, everybody would have done it. But this is exactly what Christianity has been preaching. Which, if you remember, it says love an enemy, right?
Yep.
Is that easy to do?
Oh, no.
No, it's not easy to do. So the way you see joy is anything that gets you excited, originating from yourself, not controlled by anything external. So primarily, it doesn't depend on anything from anyone or from any material. No material things, nothing from external gives you joy. Anything from external that gets you excited actually gives you happiness. And happiness is fleeting because they depend on an external trigger. They will take you up and you are happy today. The next time you expect something from somebody and it didn't come your way, you're going to get sad, right? So you're going to go through a period of ups and downs and ups and downs. Science will tell you any object that goes up and down, weakens over time and dying over time. So if you choose to focus on happiness, which is depending on other people to make you happy, then you are rather leading your body to dying gradually because of the up and down motion it takes you through. But if you make everything dependent on yourself and never external, then it doesn't matter what people do. it has no impact on your state of joy. And joy is basically sustained happiness, a happiness that will never come to an end. And this is where you get it from, what you do external, not what you take internal. Things like the kindness, the goodness. And if you go and look at it, it's only living for somebody is what gives you joy. Now, let me ask you, when they say a purpose, somebody has a purpose, what do they use the purpose for? Is it for themselves, or a purpose is usually external?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Let me see if I can break it in a different way. Do you feel more fulfilled when you do something for somebody and the person is excited by it compared to gaining something for yourself?
I think the first one.
Which is giving out. Okay? That is joy, because it is from you inside out, and you see that it is helping the person. So the joy sets in. And you can make up your mind and say, I'm disconnecting it from whatever, even if the person is going to feel grateful or not. Because once the person's feeling of being grateful sets in, you have turned the joy into happiness. Okay? So you can cut that off and say, yeah, I'm going to buy a birthday gift for this person, and all I can buy this time is, say, a pair of shoes. And you give it to the person, and the person didn't expect a pair of shoes. They expected a car, right? But from your heart, what you wanted to give on that day is a pair of shoes. So you tell yourself, hey, I'm going to give this person a pair of shoes, whether he likes it or not. I have given a pair of shoes because he needs it. You see the difference? So he takes it and he doesn't appreciate it. You don't care. You have given from your heart that you love that you gave to cover a need. That is why usually when the giving is on a need, you are more fulfilled than when the giving is not on a need. Because if it's not on a need, it's a pleasure thing. The person can say, I don't like it, and it will affect your joy. You see my point?
Yeah.
So always you focus on a need. And if you focus on a need, usually the need of an enemy is a workout. Because the person is an enemy, you go through energy to say, I'm figuring out what the person needs to give to the person. Now, also because the person is an enemy and does not expect anything from you, anything you give shocks the person to the core, and you will see it from their face 100% of the time, especially if it's a need you have figured out. And that inevitably lifts your joy. Why? Because you've given life. Basically, love is life. You've given life to someone. So what fills you is joy. So you see, you can intentionally create joy moments in your life. In all time, what causes us humans to really even exist in a state of depression? Isn't it just an expectation?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Mostly it's an expectation from somebody. It means that we put ourselves in a situation where we can't create joy. And the expectation now breaks everything we do. So even kindness you do to people now becomes happiness. And if they don't show gratitude, you are really dying inside. And now it becomes a psychotic problem. Now you want to have medicines to cover it up. So if we're going to reverse that, then the reversal is to position you to do things that makes your inside feel pleased, regardless of what somebody else is thinking about. If you can position that, then you will see that it doesn't matter. Then you are shifting, and people will get angry, whatever it is, but you're shifting. That's all you care about, is you shifting into a position where you feel grateful for what you do for people. And this is why, in my opinion, Jesus is preaching says, and even now they call it the golden rule across all religions. Even those who are not Christians are using it. It says, do unto others as you wish be done unto you. That is justice. It's the golden rule. So if I'm going to pick that and do it for people, I'll do it for my enemy, or do for people I don't like. And that's what Jesus said. He says, love your enemy. If you love those who love you, you have done nothing. In fact, that statement appeared, very harsh. People feel, oh, what does it mean by if I do good for people who I love, it's nothing? But Chuma, sit down and think about it. When you do things for family, do you yourself feel joyful if the family is not showing any gratitude?
No.
Yeah, because it hurts more that your own blood, your own relatives will really not give a damn about what you are trying to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's shocking. That is why we need to disconnect from that. And that's why I believe Jesus position us and say, when you do good for those people, you've done nothing. He's not saying don't do good for them, but he's positioning your mind to say, do not tie your joy to what you give to the family, because they're not going to show gratitude. Expect that they won't show gratitude because it's ordinary to them. Right? They know you too well. They know all the good, the bad, and the ugly. They know you too well. So don't put your expectations on gratitude from them. Take it from them. But give it to the one who doesn't like you, but needs something. And when you bring it, it shocks them, so that they are the ones who are going to lift you up because of the surprise you will see. And they can't hide it. Why? Let me tell you this. Do you know that people who are your enemies, they really is a mirror to us? First of all, they mirror our bad to us. And sometimes we hate it because when they don't like you, they're going to take a little bad about you and magnify it to hurt you, right? Alternatively, they also love something you want, they envy it, they want it. That also highlights that you have something good in life that people will depend on. It means, yeah, you are a hero. You have something people love, right?
Mm-hmm.
So whichever way you see it, enemies, you can't go wrong with them, with the exception of they want to strangle you anyway. But if they want to strangle you and you bring something they need, it lowers their defenses down. Especially, give them the thing they envy about you. Think about it and see if this approach will work. The things they envy you about, you give it to them. And they will just sometimes will say, okay, I don't need it anymore. Why? Because you shock them. Okay? And from there, they will tell you every little negative things you need in your life in order to improve. In life, if you don't have people to tell you the negative things, you might think you're doing well. No, you're not. So if you really want appraisal to be a better person, a stronger, good person in life, go to the enemy. The enemy will give you appraisal in detail that you don't even want. And if you can face that, my brother, Prof, call it a workout. If you can face that workout and let them reveal to you, you will keep improving over time, and you will never even believe what you would achieve. And again, you get free joy from them if you focus on them. So do you see what I'm saying? That we can reverse it. But people need to now start positioning everything they do and say, is it joy or is it happiness? And deliberately start changing the happiness into a joy where it is an outward giving, not an inward giving. In fact, Chuma, as I sit here, I've trained myself when it comes to expectation. I don't expect anything from anybody. If it comes in, I'm surprised. That is the addiction mechanism, how it works. Because my mind is not focused on expecting gratitude from people, I am not addicted to expectation. That puts me into depression. Does it make sense?
Yes, phenomenal breakdown. I think that answers every question.
Excellent, excellent. Any other question about that medicine part?
Great job. I think you
Good.
answered everything. Honestly.
Good. In general, again, medicines are lifesavers. It's just that we have to know how to use them.
Exactly.
And the timing and everything. And always let your body regain so that you relax off the medicine. So that when next time you get the effect again, it will come in again and bring you back to the state again. And then it goes off. So it should be in and out, not sustained. Sustained is where we are seeing the problem.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I think people will be good if they follow that.
Amen.